Hey, y'all, welcome back to Restored Valor. I want to talk today about ego. And I'm sure a bunch of people probably turned this video off as soon as I said ego. So questions to gauge your ego. Do you think that people owe you something because of your place in an organization? Do you think that just because you were given some type of award that you should flaunt it in everyone's face? Do you often find that people with less rank, title, position are less than, in your opinion? Do you think those people hold less value? And finally, are you constantly telling everyone how much better you are than they are? If yes was your answer to a lot of these questions, you are likely leading with your ego or allowing your ego to control you. Leaders have to check their ego at the door. And this is not to say that you should not have pride in your work, pride in your people, pride in your expertise. But when you lead with your ego, you can back yourself into a corner of doubling down on bad decisions based on who you think you are, or who you think other people think you are, or who you think other people think that you should be. And I'll give you a second to think about that. Again, no one cares about your education level. No one cares about your accolades. And nobody cares how much you talk yourself up. People are going to observe your behaviors. They're going to focus less on what you say and more on your output. If I tell you how great I am with these projects, etc., and then when the rubber meets the road and I don't know how to handle a very simple, basic personality conflict, workplace conflict, or I don't know how to handle internal and external problems, my people are going to notice. And in these scenarios, your ego gets in the way and wants to shine bright and tell everyone how outstanding you are. But really, you're not adequate in these areas. And many people that lead with their ego, they are very insecure in certain areas of their life. And anyone I think that pays attention will pick up on that. But oftentimes, managers let their ego fool them into a situation where they're making things worse. So leaders, I would say this: take a hard look in the mirror, really flesh out your flaws. If you're having a hard time doing that, talk with a trusted colleague, pull them in behind closed doors and say, hey, I'm really working on myself. Ask them and say, hey, where do you think are some areas where I need work? Or what are some perceptions in the workplace about me that I can change or get better with? And what are some things that you hear about the way I operate or the way I discuss things or the way I move that can potentially be improved upon? And categorize those things and say, hey, there was a common theme about this one area of my life, let's say my personal communication, and then work on those things, work on the big rocks. But if you have a trusted agent that is honest with you, and you can work on some of these things, and why not? They say, hey, every day you're boastful. We have to come in and hear your resume about how great you are and all the awards you won. That's something that's off-putting to the team. Then consider that and work on that. Sometimes leading with ego allows you to win in the short term. But if you look at a person who's been leading with their ego over the long term, you're going to find that eventually they're going to crash and burn. And that might be 5 years in, 10 years in, 15 years in. It might be 2 months in. But leading with ego is not a long-term strategy. And you have to put that to the side, especially when you're making decisions that may impact people's lives, that may impact whether a person lives or dies in extreme circumstances in the military. You have to make those critical decisions. Don't allow yourself to think you're above your teams, because the team is what gets things done. Sure, you can do things on your own and be a one-man show, but realistically, if you have a team that has to operate effectively, things are not going to get done. The task will not get complete without the useful effectiveness of your team. So that's wrapping it up for ego. I'm going to ask you to do one thing in the comments. Talk about a leader that has led with their ego and how it turned out, or share a story about a leader that's led with their ego and maybe a lesson that we can all learn from that. I appreciate y'all leaving those things in the comments. I appreciate your time, and thanks for tuning back in to Restored Valor.